Evening all, welcome to Space Engineers Part 3. So here we go, the continuing voyage of the Titan construction. And I've got to admit, it's actually not going, well, it started quite well. Hopefully you saw the last video, we managed to construct this very humble, simple, frigate looking thingamajig, which is actually going to become part of our front portion of the Titan. Now, again, the way that I always build these things is not, well, it's not elegant. I build them with a bit of a thought to say, well, let's try and do this, let's try and do that, that sort of thing. And a lot of what I was doing here was, right, let's build it in sections. So this is the front part. What I'll then do is now build the back part. And the back part, I think, is going to be very much the utility piece. So already, as you can see, you know, nothing's really working here. So I was just testing the turrets, seeing if I could get them working. Sadly not. I did hear on the grapevine that there is updated world generation, fancier lights coming. Apparently doors now work, and multiplayer is also being kind of touted. So happy days on that front indeed. Now I think, to be honest, who knows how long we'll have to wait for it, but I think it's going to be worth the wait already. I'm just loving this game. So here we go. Let's continue to kind of add to our Titan. Now, what I was going to do here was build like a towed star drive section. So if you imagine that, so this is your kind of front, kind of command and control piece. What I was going to do now is build something that would then become, I guess, where all of the other things sit. So crew quarters. I think I was going to put all of the refinery information here, all the assemblers, etc., medical, also probably place the reactors in here as well. So this was pretty much from the get-go going to be quite a big thing. Now, again, I said in the previous video, the way I build these things is I build a great big frame first, and that's what I'm going to do here. Is, as you can see, I'm trying to kind of build a kind of structured frame that will then hold the rest of this. Now, the problem is that I do end up just making one long cigar-shaped cylinder, which I'm trying to avoid here, but that's kind of my drive at the moment, is to figure out how to make something big without having to kind of construct everything in one go. And having a sort of, superstructure is probably the best way to do this. So I build from the outside in, which again is wrong. You shouldn't do that. You should build from the inside out. But again, it's the only way I know how, really. And I'm a big kind of fan of symmetry. I'm not like the EVE Online ship creators, where they just put prongs and bits and spikes and, jet engines in the middle of nowhere for no reason whatsoever. I'm avoiding that myself, and I'm trying to keep everything kind of nicely symmetrical as best I can. Now, again, the thing with Space Engineers, as you probably saw in the last video, is you can't disassemble whole panels of blocks. If they lose some form of contact to the other structures, they actually drift away, and you've lost them then. So this is an annoying. So when I built my Rifter, I don't know if you saw my Christmas one I did of this, I built a Rifter, and I actually lost an entire, so there we go, prime example just there. I lost an entire wing of a Rifter because I removed one block, which is stupid. So, and it's not stupid of the game; it's stupid of me, the loose nut behind the wheel. That's probably the issue. So, so a lot of what I was trying to do here was just to build something that isn't just a big cube, which I guess I'm doing anyway, but it's just also having these braces here. So you see there, that's what I'm doing. I'm building a braced structure around it. So it doesn't matter if you have free floating stuff there, and it does mean that when combat comes, it would be quite cool to see bits of the thing shot off and spin away. I quite like that. But I think a lot of the kind of structure of this is just going to be basic to begin with, because then you can actually build something in a bit more kind of structured way. So there we go. We already punched a hole through to our command module, so we're pretty much ready to go. The engines are going to move. Don't worry, they're not going to sit there forever. And I think really this was now, I was kind of looking at their ship. Look how nice that is. Look at my ship. Oh dear. But it takes time. I think don't get disheartened when you look at what obviously other people create. If you look at the green, was it the Steam Workshop store? You'll see some amazing stuff. But again, they all start the same way. They all literally start with something like I've done here, and it's just them building upon it. So don't be downhearted about this. Now, with so many engines, you're going to need good reactors. And as you can see, I've now got 2 in a row. And I'm actually thinking to myself, no, this still isn't big enough. So I'm actually going to make it loads bigger here. And you see that's how I'm doing it. And this is where I think we need to have a much bigger reactor bay, because this is going to be a very heavy ship. So, it's going to need a lot of engines, a lot of power. And I think really, again, when you look at classic Starship design, which is a double negative because it doesn't exist unless you look at NASA. When you look at sci-fi classic Starship design, the reactors are generally the furthest thing away from where people live. And there's a reason for that, because obviously they're usually where, if the ship is hit, they will actually explode. Now, in Space Engineers, they don't necessarily do that. So I think what I was thinking here was I'll leave the reactors in the middle. And then, my brain got working and then said, aha, but Pyrex, what if somebody strikes you with a very, very lucky mid shot, or they fire a small ship through your hull into the reactor, you would lose your reactors. So the actual word I'm going to go for here is redundancy. We're going to have a lot of redundant reactors who will be placed around the ship. And then I realized that I was getting way too into this, and I had to go shower and basically have a quiet sit down for a while because my brain was pinging around. And I think that's what I love about the game, is that already at this point I was like, wow, I'm getting this game. It is lovely. I'm loving it. Everything's cool. Now already we put our refinery in as well. So as we start to, think about what this ship's going to do, in theory, this ship will be able to position itself below. Picture this. It should be able to position itself below an asteroid. So its gravity field will cover that asteroid. I will then be able to get into one of my little mining vessels with the bore turrets on it and just mine through the asteroid. And then everything will be sucked into the gravity well into the refinery. So it will fall into the refinery and then it will automatically refine into materials. That's the plan. And then we've got our assemblers right next to it that I can then use the bits for. So, already I was kind of thinking this is going to be what the thing's going to do and blah, 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 blah. So, I don't know if I need as many assemblers as that, but I just thought, well, it looks good. And I was thinking almost a bit like a factory floor now. So this is now turning from kind of a frigate into maybe more of a barge. Interesting, eh? So I think a lot of what I was trying to kind of get from this point was, relatively powerfully, quick and powerful engine structure. So yeah, again, I'm not sold on this. So don't worry. I know these look a bit messy, these rings of thrusters, but it'll do for now. And I think really what I was trying to do was just make it so that this was a much bigger ship than maybe it was certainly at the start of the video. But then as I kind of started to look at this, I started to realize it's not quite right yet. So, I started to come mess with it a bit more. And I think really then I realized, yes, it needs like side positioning thrusters as well. So, the whole process is incredibly enjoyable. And I looked at the way the other ships do it. They have a big engine and then 3 small ones. So that obviously gives a fair bit of maneuverability. And I've just copied that here as well. And I've just built this kind of rear thrust station, if you like, with these mini thrusters upon them. So, so much fun, I can't tell you. I mean, this this was probably a couple of hours worth of play, sped up obviously, but it was a couple of hours of play where I just immersed myself totally in this game. And it's rare to find. You probably have this yourself, but you probably got a game that you'd start playing at like 8 o'clock at night, and then before you know it, it's 2 in the morning. Those games are rare, seriously, trust me, because I've played games for years and years and years, and there's only a few that have ever done that for me. And I think this game has got the inkling to certainly be one of them, because I played it actually from about 2 in the afternoon, and then the next I realized it was like 6 o'clock and I was hungry, and I was like, whoa, where did that time go? It was like a time engine. So I heartily think this is going to be something very special indeed. Already the multiplayer that's hinted is just going to be amazing. I mean, imagine because we're going to have a server of this regardless. And my immediate reaction was, well, if we got 20, 30 people who wanted to play with us, we would just build like the most ridiculous flagships, and we'd go and, if there were public servers, we'd take our ships into there and cause havoc and all die. We'd end up dying because we're crap at games, but it would just be so much fun to kind of just absolutely go for it and become, some form of, pirate, or just generally, testing the mettle of other ships. And I can't wait for it. It's just going to be amazing. I'm sure it'll be, I'm sure there'll be problems. I'm sure it'll be laggy as hell. I'm sure there'll be bugs and things like that. But, you get behind a game because of what the fun could be. And I think Minecraft was a great example of that, because when Minecraft came out, there wasn't a lot there. And I think, Space Engineers is a good example of the same thing, because there isn't a great deal here either. But what is here is keeping people here en masse, because it's just such a fascinating potential of a game, which hopefully you agree. But yeah, let's let's see how this goes. I think there's some real scale and scope to build something quite exceptional with this game, and I think the multiplayer will just finish it off perfectly. And again, same with Minecraft. You know, the single player of Minecraft was good, is good, and I think, you know, but what made it was the multiplayer. You know, this ability to play with friends and do some, you know, quite extraordinary things. So I think that'll be what we do. And there we go. Look at that. Our thing moves, and it's even able to maneuver and etc. So, you know, I wasn't too sure if I'd make that an open hangared bay side for it. We'll see, but I think for the time being that'll do. But I was interested to see really what you know, I could do with these things as well. So I went into then the control panel. This is the control panel for the ship, and as you can see, you can turn all the doors on. They don't work. I wasn't sure, but I was just testing them out. But as you can see, that, you know, everything has the ability to be switched on and off. You can send power to this and that, and I think that's really cool. I think certainly what's going to very quickly happen, I think, is you know, this game is going to become, I think, either a very kind of, you know, niche product, so literally the servers will be limited to 5 people and then that'll be it, or it could become something that, you know, like Minecraft, you could have, you know, I think even many hundreds of people connecting to a server, and it could be a public server where everyone fights and dogfights and builds, trades, mines, shoots, kills and such. So I think the potential is very exciting for this. And I think really just, you know, getting to learn the game at this stage is obviously quite the trick. So I think, you know, here I was trying to work out how the refinery works. And we may show that next time, but I certainly, you know, there you go. So that's pretty much it. You just put your blocks that you've mined into the refinery. You can just double click them as I show there. And I was trying to find the button that says refine, but I couldn't find it, so I must have missed it. But if I close the window and reopen it, as you see, we then have all our products. So there you go. So already this is shaping up to be something that, you know, is going to be very resource and craft heavy, which I think a lot, I mean, I like crafting in games. I think there's something quite fun about it, as long as it's not too crazy. I don't want to be sort of, you know, many, you know, 20 million different materials, and you need, like, you know, a particular type of argon to build this particular type of gun. Sod that. I don't want that. I want it to be as simple and straightforward as maybe Minecraft. So maybe there's like 20 materials in total. That's it. Of which you then obviously refine and build stocks of, and then you can build things on that. And in theory, this will be how the whole game is set. You know, I'm in a creative mode at the moment where I've got infinite blocks and access to all the machinery, but over time, there is the very likelihood that won't exist. And there we go, got a bit of gold. Hopefully, there we go, a bit of a gold bar, which is a nice thing. So I think, you know, hopefully the game is self-sustainable, so people won't feel the need to cheat in creative mode or similar. But we'll see. I mean, I just don't know how it's going to pan out, and I think that's probably my only nervous part about this game in its entirety. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. Look, at our ship is certainly expanding. So episode 3, and we're already up to, what, a cruiser maybe? Could we call that a cruiser? It's quite big, isn't it? Maybe a friggy cruiser. That would do. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Join us next time.